Hello, Internet, and welcome to another episode of Thursday's Children here on GameKnights. I am your Game Master and your host for today, Savvy, and we're here to play Vaesen. But before we do, let me tell you a little bit about this here channel and what we do on it. If you are live with us in the chat on Twitch currently, hello. We're so glad you're here with us today. We play all manner of tabletop games here on GameKnights. We're live like 5 days a week regularly, I think, every day except Monday and Wednesday, and sometimes we do stuff on those days too. So if you're live with us on Twitch, our schedule is down on the drop page below our faces. If you are with us in the future, perhaps on our YouTube channel, which if you're not subscribed to, by the way, you can. It's youtube.com/GameKnights. Same URL. It's great. Just hit the button while you're there. You can find our schedule if you're with us on YouTube pinned to our Discord. It's also pinned to the top of our Twitter. You can also find it on our Twitch page where you can go and follow and subscribe and all that good stuff. Our next live stream after this one will be on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time with an episode of Tabletop Tuesdays. And I think it is a Burbs week. It was Mask last week. So they are playing on a wonderful show called The Burbs. They're playing Savage Worlds. I don't ever remember the subtitle. Cthulhu Edition. It's something like that. But it's great and wonderful. It's a good show. It's great. It's small cast. It's a great very great, powerful cast. And you should go watch them. I'm going to let my lovely players around me introduce themselves. And then we can go ahead and get started. Briefly, Morgan, or at Imaginatrix on the internets, will be with us shortly. She was working on a project this morning and is getting home a little bit late for our start time, but that's okay. She'll be here in a few minutes, but you can find her at Imaginatrix on the internet. She's a cosplayer and does great stuff. So I'll introduce her. Follow her. She plays Alina, our occultist, and she'll be here shortly. I don't know who usually goes first. I think it's Sid.
I think it's me. Hi. Hey, I'm Christina Sid. You can find me on the Twitters at Greek Sid, usually just talking about all the fun stuff I'm doing on the internet, like this game. Among others, I am here on Thursdays. I run a Good Society game. It's awesome and kind of bonkers right now, but it's the best. Fridays for Neon Souls, Star Power Saturdays, and here. Yay. Also over on twitch.tv/InfiniteRP on Monday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern, playing Flames of Freedom, Revolutionary War, plus Eldritch Horror. It's the best. And tonight I'll be over on LB Hackam's channel. I'm guesting for Playthings of the Gods. I'm excited. It's gonna be fun. Y'all get to meet Bree. It'll be great. But right now I am playing Tilda, and Tilda is the writer.
Hello, everybody. I'm LB Hackamup. You can find me at LB Hackamup on the Twitters and the Twitches. I'm going to be playing Villiblom tonight. She is the servant. I play in a lot of other things, but you can check my Twitter out for that. But right now, I lost my scissors. Be right back.
Hello, everyone. I'm Val of the Crion's Crown on Twitter and Twitch. Like Savannah, you can find me here Thursdays through Sundays, playing and running games. I run a game on Fridays called Neon Souls. We're playing the Cypher system in a cyberpunk setting, kind of gearing up for our finale there within the next few weeks. That's super exciting. Unfortunately, we'll be off this week for that, but we should be coming back the week after. And then on Saturdays, I run alternating games called Saturday Night Star Power. We're playing Fate, in a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and Shaman King and Jujutsu Kaisen. It's our anime show of the week. So join us for that. We just had a session yesterday of that, so we'll be back in 2 weeks. And then on alternating Saturdays, I run Saturday Night's Mistborn. We're playing the Mistborn RPG based on the novels by Brandon Sanderson. That is just getting started, only a couple sessions in, so it's a great time to jump in as kind of the planning and the plotting and everything is getting underway. I think at our next game we're going to be attending a ball, and yeah, it's super fun. So join us for that. Normally it would be this coming Saturday, but due to schedule changes we won't be here this week, so join us in 2 weeks for our next session there. And tonight I will be playing Dr. Danni Matson, who is the Doctor.
Wonderful. And you
And
know
yes,
me.
I'm always going to think that's funny.
I'm Savvy. I'm at Savvy Seaworth on the internets. And you can find my streaming schedule pinned to the top of my Twitter page. Mostly, I run this game, which I'm very, very excited to get into. So, what order do I want to do these things in? Because I have a list of things. We've gotten to that point where I have a list of things now. I'll do a little bit of a recap. And then we'll do our development and our time break. And then I'll do the rest of the recap. How about that? Sounds like a good way to do it.
Time break.
Thank you.
Time break.
You're welcome.
All right. Previously on Thursday's Children, society solved another mystery. After escaping the burning Amundsen home and pushing their luck a bit with the Herring Baron's hospitality, the crew took an unconscious Oscar and a very grateful Paul to a cave near the sea that Danni had previously discovered to hide out from the family and make a plan. Soon after, they set out on a shipping barge for the deep reef, where they encountered the Amundsen family once more, this time accompanied by Sarah, a young ship captain they had met previously on their first trip to Wrecker Isle. Afraid for Sarah's well-being, Alina stepped out and, with Tilda's assistance, convinced the mermaid and Zacharias that her method of harnessing power was a better option than sacrifice, channeling the power of love. And it worked. And with a sea glass bottle full of magical essence, the mermaid returned to the waters, leaving a frustrated but hopefully amenable Zacharias on the shore. The group then returned home, sent off by a mermaid and a very, very large tentacled friend, waving goodbye, but quickly found themselves embroiled in another mystery, this time right here in Grimsey. But before we get to that, you guys did some talking before stream a little bit, because you have quite a few HQ development points. So I'm going to bring up the Citadel sheet. Who wants to be in charge of adding stuff to the sheet? Because I don't want to do it.
I can do it.
Okay.
Got it, Val? Okay.
You guys should all have access to edit it. Let me double check. Yes. You should have access to add things. So, if I am understanding correctly, you're wanting to add to the Citadel one of the facilities, which is a shooting range. And you are wanting to hire one of the personnel in the form of a gamekeeper.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any last minute changes?
No, I've been thoroughly convinced that this is a good idea.
Okay, so you'll spend 5 points on the shooting range and 5 points on the gamekeeper. So I think that will deplete your development points. Totally. Let me tell the people what those do. So the shooting range should go under facilities, as opposed to discovered facilities, which are different. Discovered facilities are parts of the original Citadel building that you can uncover over time by spending points on them. Facilities are things you actually have like built and added on. So it's just narrative. It doesn't really actually mean anything. But they're separate on the sheet. So we're going to keep them separate for my peace of mind, I guess. But so the shooting range, it gives sort of an example of like what this could possibly look like, but I don't care. And I want to know what you guys want it to look like and where you're going to put it. So the examples are like either a basement or like a walled in like garden outside with like shooting targets and and stuff, so you can have something like that.
I like a walled off
Or
garden.
you can do something different.
Yeah, I like the idea of it being outside.
Yeah.
It's probably
Okay.
a lot safer too.
Mm-hmm.
Not for your neighbors.
There's a big old wall. They'll be fine.
Okay, yeah, so say you take one of the empty courtyards that exists throughout the citadel, hire a mason. You know, the people who do the bricks.
Yes.
You hire a Freemason, and
Oh God, no.
no, he's not free. You do have to pay him. That was so much joke that it wasn't even a joke. You hire a mason to essentially expand the walls up so they are much higher and not just courtyard walls. You have an actual sort of tall walled in space. You have someone, or I mean, a lot of you can probably do some of this work yourselves, come in and cut the grass very short, sort of tamp it down so it is flattened a bit and easier to stand on. And you have some shooting targets installed.
Big barrels, like various targets. One's
Yeah.
more like bow and arrow target, and one like Tilda will draw out. Well,
Danni.
she's gonna imagine that it's a no. Well done. She was actually gonna imagine that it was, someone else. But yes, some sort of shadowy figure, but for headshots and body shots and the whole thing. So
Nice. So yeah, several different specialized targets for different types of weapons. For the folks at home, the shooting range you can now have, because last time you picked up the weapons corridor, you can purchase this up to 3 times, and every time you purchase it, it gets better and you get more things from it. If you had castle guards, which you don't, you can buy them. They would be able to carry some ranged weapons up to availability level 3, which is essentially the rarity of the weapons and how hard they are to come by. So I think the up to level 3 was like a longbow or like a musket and some other things. Can't get pistols and rifles yet, but they would be able to have at least like muskets or something of the sort. And then during your preparation phase, which we are going to get into here soon, each level that you have in the shooting range allows another character to bring along a lower availability ranged weapon. So the more times you do this, the more weapons you can have, and that's without using your resources, is the fun part of that. So you don't have to roll for it, you don't have to pay for it, you can just have it because you paid for this very nice shooting range. As an upgrade to that, you also hire on a new gamekeeper, whose flavor text is keeps the animal population down on the estate. Which is funny to me because you guys are in a city. So like, what's he shooting?
no goddamn pigeons around here.
Pigeons and
Girls are
solicitors.
eggs. Yeah. Oh boy.
So let's talk about this gamekeeper. So the gamekeeper essentially upgrades the weapons from your shooting range. So all of that stuff I said about up to level 3 weapons, you can now have level 4. Congratulations. You can also bring along on any mystery you go on, either hunting equipment or a hunter's trap without having to roll for it, without having to pay for it. So you can just do that for free. Let's talk about this gamekeeper that you have hired.
I have a name.
You have a name?
Yep.
Okay.
Stefan Berwin.
And I like it.
All right, I was trying to get, is there a pun or is that a reference to something that I'm missing?
Steve Irwin.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. All right.
I like it.
Me too.
I was sitting here for a minute. I was like, what is she? Where are we going with this?
That was it. And it's
I like it a lot.
animals. My head went to Steve Irwin, so.
Okay, so he'll go under your personnel. What's he like, you guys? We know what Jimothy's like. Jimothy is like every butler ever. What's this fool like?
I think Stefan, for someone whose job it is to hunt and like take care of animals, actually loves them a great deal. And like really likes to talk very excitedly about them all the time. And I don't know, I don't necessarily think that he like has to keep, he probably doesn't kill all the animals that he gets around in the castle, like all the birds and stuff. He probably keeps them, or just like, you know, traps them and sets them free elsewhere. And he also just likes guns.
Well, you know, everybody has a character flaw.
It's true.
All right, so got your shooting range, and we've got your gamekeeper. We also are gonna take a very quick break because we have a Morgan who's going to join us here in a moment. So stick around. We're gonna add Morgan in really, really quick here, and we'll be right back. And welcome back, Internet. And as promised, Morgan is here. Yay! So we're gonna just jump right back in and keep on going. So we've done our headquarters development, in which we've added a lovely shooting range and a very lovely gamekeeper named Stefan Berwin, who loves the animals very, very much. What I would like to do is figure out what's going on with my notes. What I would like to do next is a little bit of wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff. So, I promised a time break just in case. So, what we're gonna do is, if there is any downtime stuff that you all would like to have done, like immediately upon returning to Grimsey before the detective shows up and all of that, we can do that now. If there's anything you want to do sort of like in the meantime, now that he's shown up, we'll do that in a little bit after we jump back into that stuff. So is there anything anybody would have wanted to do before in the bubble I'm creating over here?
I had a conversation with Alina that I wanted to have.
Okay.
Probably within a day or two of returning back.
Okay, so we will start there. Alina, where are you usually? What does Alina do like day to day?
Alina's usually hanging out in the garden, I think, or sometimes can be found in the kitchen, but usually she's in the garden.
Okay, easy enough. You, Tilda, wander outside into the gardens to find Alina.
Alina?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, do you have a moment?
Yes.
Good. Could we sit?
There's a bench over there.
Oh, wonderful. Trot over to the bench. This is a very strange question, I suppose. I just need to come out and say it, I guess. The night that, when Well, when we all met for the first time, I suppose.
Oh, you mean when I was dead?
Yes. Yes, precisely. Well, I suppose before you woke up, you, well, not you, I don't know. Or maybe it was you. I guess I never asked. Do you remember what you or not you said to me?
Yes, I do.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
So it was you who said that?
No.
So it wasn't you,
No.
but you remember?
I heard it.
Oh. Right, do you have an idea what it means?
Well, no.
Right.
I can try and figure out what it means.
How would you do that?
Oh, I have some friends I can ask if, they're very good at riddles. And I can read pretty well, so I can look things up and that sort of thing. Of
Right,
course, you're very
of
good at
course.
that yourself, but
Oh, I've been looking to see if perhaps it was a poem or something, but I haven't found anything quite yet. I'm still looking. But you have a friend, you said?
yes.
All right. If you wouldn't mind reaching out to them, I would be happy to meet with them as well and ask them any sorts of questions.
I don't know if that would be a good idea, but I certainly can speak to them.
Oh, of course. I don't want to impede on anyone's privacy or anything like that. But if you wouldn't mind, I would greatly appreciate it.
Yes, of course. I will check with them as soon as I can.
Thank you ever so much. Yes, the sooner I can know exactly what that means. Yes, thank you very much.
Yes, well, I imagine that it was quite something to hear, especially directed
Yes.
at you.
The entire situation was quite something.
Yes, normally people don't come back from the dead, do they?
No, they have not in my limited experience.
Well, I'm rather glad I did. It wasn't much fun being dead.
No, of course. No, I'm very happy that you are living currently. It's not that at all. It was just just a very surprising circumstance. That's all.
Yes. The look on the doctor's face is quite funny, don't you think?
Well, yes, I suppose it was. I'm sure the look on my face was just as equally amusing, however.
Oh, yes, but I wouldn't say that to your face.
When it comes to that sort of thing, you are welcome to say it to my face.
All right. Good to know.
Of course. Well, thank you. I will leave you to your... What is it that you do in the garden all the time?
I collect herbs sometimes and sometimes bury things or dig things up that I've buried or, just hang out.
Bury things?
Yes,
What sort of things?
it's a game I used to play when I was a kid. You bury things, you make a map to them, you see if you can remember where they are later, kind of like treasure.
Oh. Well, that does sound like a fun game. Huh. I will leave you to your game. And thank you again. I do appreciate it.
Of course.
I'll be in the library if you need me.
Maybe I'll find you later.
All right. A little more spring in her step. Heads back inside.
All right. Tilda, head back inside, leaving Alina alone in the garden. Anything else? Yes, Doctor.
Danny has a delivery.
You have a delivery that was actually scheduled for a couple of days ago, I think.
Yeah. It's probably back at the UPS store now.
You've got like 2 of those stickers that said they attempted and they'll try back later.
Is there like a note on Danny's?
There is, yeah. There was actually a note, a sealed note that was left on Danny's desk, probably, that Jimothy will alert you to that it was delivered to you, and obviously he's not going to open it because he's a good butler, so he left it on your desk.
Thank you, Jimothy.
You're welcome, Doctor.
Goes
Can
over
I
the
get you
desk.
anything else?
Oh, no, thank you.
All right, well, you know how to find me.
Of course.
He scurries away. I just think Jimothy doesn't get enough screen time.
No, he does not. Danny will sidle up to the desk and open the letter.
It just says, in sort of like scribbled, messy handwriting, it says, "Where the fuck are you? These things don't keep. Richter."
Right. Takes the letter, tosses it in the fire, and heads tries to surreptitiously leave the headquarters to head to wherever they agreed to meet next. I assume one of the bars. Maybe they found a new one since Tilda discovered the last one.
Did you want to find a new one?
No, I don't want to name a new one. We can go to the Drunken Pony.
All right. You head down to the Drunken Pony, and after a little bit of waiting, you see your friend and mine, Richter Olaf, writing a note, sort of come swaggering in, sees you, grabs a drink at the bar, and sort of sits down roughly at your table. "And where have you been?"
Business, unfortunately, took me out of town. I apologize for the delay in my picking up our agreed delivery.
Well, they're all still in one piece as of today. You know those things don't keep.
I'm aware. If I had been able to avoid the additional time, I would have. Do you have them nearby so that we may arrange transport?
Yeah.
Right. The sooner the better. I can get them properly preserved.
Right. I've got a cart. Pay up. I can have them there in an hour.
Right. Danny reaches back. I don't know the 1700s if we're dealing with checks or like if I'm still carrying a pouch of coin around, but Danny will pay.
You could do checks.
Okay.
Bank notes.
Yeah,
I
banks.
feel like bank notes was probably a thing. Banks were a thing by now.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm
Notes
saying
were
they
a
were.
thing.
Yeah.
Early 1800s? Yeah.
Okay. Danny.
I had to remember what era it was.
Danny quickly scribes a banknote for the amount that they were agreed upon, plus probably a little bit more considering Richter's trouble in having to keep them, and slides it across the table to him.
Pleasure doing business as always, Doctor.
Likewise.
Oh, and tell your lady friend I said aye.
Have you been speaking with her more recently than the last time we were here?
No, and it's a damn shame.
Right. Please keep the nature of our relationship out of your conversations should you continue to speak with her.
Of course. That's what you pay me for.
Right. And if she asks about me, keep it brief.
No offense, Doctor, but it's not hard to do.
Good. Well, I will leave you to your business, and I will see you back at the estate.
See you then. Downs a drink, slams a glass on the table, stands up, stretches, breathes very loudly and obnoxiously, then walks out the door.
Danny waits an appropriate amount of time, closes their notebook, and leaves as well, going in a different direction back to his home. Their home.
I was about to ask, is Danny about to bring some goddamn dead bodies into the Citadel, or...
Oh, no.
Okay.
These are for personal use.
Okay.
Okay.
Gross.
Danny does have a few things that they want to do once they arrive, but we can wait if somebody else wants to do something first.
Anything else? Okay, we'll do the bodies and then we'll continue on. So, within the next hour, a cart delivers the carefully wrapped so as not to arouse too much suspicion bodies to your house. What would you like to do?
Danny has Richter bring them through the usual way inside, which I think there is actually like a cellar entrance to the basement of the home that comes up like around the back of the property, because Danny doesn't want Richter just bringing the bodies through the front door. So probably like has him come back to the stables like it's the shit. I imagine their usual routine is that there's some sort of like it's a ruse of like a shipment of like supplies coming to the house or something, and comes around the side of the kitchen with the carriage and probably a couple of baskets that are brought in that are empty, and then brings the heavier items around to the cellar. And once they're down there, Danny takes them to the secret morgue, essentially, that is kind of hidden behind a wall in the cellar of his of their home, and once that's all set up and Richter is gone, Danny was going to do some experiments.
Okay. What kind of experiments?
Well, I'm trying to remember. Danny has the bones of the Grim, right? Or the book.
Yeah.
I don't remember which Danny stole. It was one of those two.
Fairly certain they stole the bones. They were
Yeah,
doing
you
experiments.
guys left the book, I'm pretty sure. On purpose.
Yeah, Danny takes the creature's bones for safety, is what is in my notes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Okay. Cool.
So one of the things that Danny asked Richter to bring was the body of a deceased, like, wolf, if he could, or a dog if he couldn't find a wolf. Was he able to get something like a wolf corpse?
Yeah. Because there are, so essentially, outside the boundary of Grimsey is mostly like woods and stuff like that. So the city is kind of essentially like walled in, and then most of it is woods and undeveloped land for the most part. So there are wolves and things out there. Could have easily gotten a like a smaller wolf, like a coyote. Not a coyote, but like a coyote-sized creature.
Yeah, just wanted something as similar to the creature, the Grim bones, because that came from like a wolf skeleton. Is kind of what we have. I remembered.
Yeah, that was a wolf.
So it was something as similar as possible. And the first thing Danny's going to do is spend some time cleaning the corpse to maybe, I don't know exactly the most efficient way to get the meat off of the bones of the new wolf body or coyote body, and wants to do a comparison of the bones between the two to see like any abnormalities. Does some experiments just continuing to find like any sort of distinction. Wants to understand like what caused this creature to be formed, like what caused the Grim to be formed from this creature's bones versus like your average wolf, to understand that.
Okay.
That's the first thing he wants to do.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and roll. Is this medicine? The skill can provide knowledge about anatomy, diseases, and injuries. Wow, investigation does say examine a dead body. Let's do investigation.
Okay. Oh, I don't have my magnifying glass anymore.
I have to ask, does Danny have like dermestid beetles or something to clean everything off?
Oh yeah, I was wondering what might be the most efficient, or that or some form of like acid.
That's kind of a preference thing, I think.
Yeah, Danny would probably go with the acid rather than the bugs.
Okay, just keep a vat of acid sitting around.
All right, investigation. Why did that go? Wow, that's a lot of low numbers.
That is a lot of low numbers.
0 successes.
So there are a couple of differences between the sets of bones. The one that you have is smaller, obviously. The bones of the Grim are larger, a little more dense than the ones that you have. This is also a reminder that the bones, you have a hard time examining the bones of the Grim specifically because they are so scorched from being burned. But you don't find anything, anatomically speaking, you don't find anything necessarily out of the ordinary or something that would set them apart as like completely different creatures or one having been changed or anything like that.
Okay. Well, probably frustrated from that. Danny has one other thing that they begin to do with the other body. Specifically is working on, does like a brief like autopsy to determine cause of death, find out the state, like how much decay we're looking at with the corpse. And then probably opens the cranium of the corpse, and using a electrostatic generator begins to run electrical currents through different parts of the brain, trying to stimulate the body, is looking for any sort of reaction and trying to understand. I think Danny is working on trying to understand some of the like brain functions and ultimately running tests to see what it would take to bring somebody back from the dead.
Okay. I'm looking something up. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay. You start to run these electrical currents through the brain, starting with a lower frequency, I assume, and upping it until you start to see a little bit of a reaction. As you do this, Danny, sort of move the pieces around to try to essentially what you would be doing is like galvanizing the nerves that are connected to the brain to try to make things move. And you can do this a little bit. You're a doctor, you know how anatomy works. I think Danny can figure it out enough. There are certain places where you sort of place these nodes, and as you run the currents over the brain, the muscles, particularly around like the eyes, right in here, and in the eyelids, will twitch and sort of contort the face a little bit, enough to where it's physically noticeable, almost sort of like turning the face up in this like gruesome kind of smile as it pulls up on these muscles. Yeah. Something happens for sure.
Continues taking notes. I think begins to work on a diagram for some sort of like sustained process that might be able to reanimate or re-engage brain function. I think make some notes in their journal, because I don't imagine Danny has the time to be talking to themselves too much, but making notes about how they could replicate the phenomenon that they experienced previously.
Okay, you can do so. Anything else?
No, that's about it for now.
Okay. So we're gonna move on just a little bit. So when you returned to Grimsey, the four of you, I was assuming, because it was mentioned, turned Oscar over to the authorities for trying to burn someone's house down.
Yeah.
And also shooting someone. Okay, so he's dealt with. What we didn't discuss was Paul. the third brother,
All right.
who you rescued from a barrel in his own basement, and who probably isn't welcome in the family business anymore. Or who doesn't want to be a part of it, really. So what... Did you guys do anything with him, or did you just sort of leave him to fend for himself?
I mean, it's kind of up to him. I guess maybe we could have had a conversation with him about what he wanted to do from here.
It's up to you guys. If you want to leave it up to him, that's totally cool.
I mean, if he wanted to come back to Grimsey, I think it would be easy enough for us to get an extra train ticket for him to come with us. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's up to him whether he wants to come.
Okay. Because I think he would want to get out of Fjallbacka and away from the family who tried to sacrifice him. So he would come back to Grimsey on the train with you all. The problem now being he doesn't have anywhere to go.
I mean, Tilda could probably get him set up with her landlady. Like, place isn't great, but it's cheap.
Get him a flat.
Get him a flat.
If you're looking for employment, where Grimsey's landlocked, right? I don't remember us having like a being.
Yes, Grimsey's landlocked.
We're at a limit on shipping and fishing in the area. I could perhaps give you some work as an orderly in my clinic. It's hard labor, but you seem the type that'd be used to that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, thanks.
Of course. Start tomorrow. Be there first light.
He smiles. I guess starts moving what little he has into a little place in Grimsey. And just like that, you have another friend. Congratulations, everyone.
Listen, if I can recruit somebody else to move bodies for me, I'm just gonna do it. So.
I told you Billy would if you just asked.
Villy has not endeared herself to Danny very much.
She's the least judgmental person. I mean, besides Alina, but that's because Alina doesn't judge anything anytime ever. But where did she get that from? Obviously, Billy.
It's raised by.
All right. Just had to stick that one in there because I remembered Paul existed about 20 minutes before we started playing today. It's like,
Well, Paul would
shit.
have, because of all the interactions with the mermaid, does Paul have the sight too?
No, he does not.
Oh, okay. Got it.
It's a whole other complicated issue.
Cool.
Maybe he'll tell you about it one day. All right. So shortly after all of this has happened, has gone down, as a reminder, you were all approached at the Citadel by what was a familiar face to some of you, the detective, Sebastian Viktorski. He brought along several wanted posters featuring some local women who were all wanted for various crimes, including breaking and entering, robbery, assault, arson, and murder. Villy had recognized one of the women in the posters, Adela Johnson, a friend of hers who works, or presumably worked, in the household of one Samuel Engstrom, a wealthy businessman with an estate here in Grimsey. The detective begrudgingly sort of asked vaguely for your help, as all of these crimes had happened within the last week, and all the perpetrators of the crimes had afterward immediately disappeared without a trace. Viktorsky made it clear that he believes in the work that the society does in Basin and in Thursday's Children, because he knows one, a hunter, self-proclaimed hunter named Max Nordhall, who, when we left off last time, had just been invited inside and is now making his way up the walk and through your front door. So Max, very, very tall, over 6 feet, probably closer to 7, broad shoulders, long duster, big hat, has a rifle slung across his back. Doesn't say anything. I forgot who invited him in.
Billy.
Was it Villy?
Billy went to that door. Mm-hmm.
All right, so Villy, he sort of walks up, kind of stamps his boots a little bit to make sure they're not dirty. Just nods. Just walks in the door. Down the hall.
Follows after.
All right, he winds his way in. I assumed you pointing him generally in the right direction. And he doesn't speak. He just kind of nods, follows your directions, and makes it to the sitting room or wherever it is you guys are having this meeting. And the detective sort of looks up and nods as you enter and says, "Max? Everyone, Max?" And he just sort of nods and walks over and sort of takes up a position standing behind the detective, like arms crossed. Doesn't speak.
Billy slides in next to Tilda.
Mr. Nordall.
He nods.
The detective has led us to understand that you have experience with the sort of work that our society takes up.
From under the brim of his hat, he just looks up a little bit. I suppose.
Good. This one seems to be a doozy. So your expertise, of course, would be appreciated.
He just sort of like pats his hip where he has like a pistol holstered. That's all right.
Right. Were there any other particulars, Detective?
He looks at the posters that he sort of spread out on the table in front of all of you and says, "I don't know. I suppose it. That's not what he sounded like. What did he sound like? Oh, too many characters on this list." He says, "Well, it depends on what you're looking for. And I suppose you're looking for different things than I would be."
Of course, but if we begin with where you have, might give us a better idea of where to go from there. You said the latest victim, the incident was witnessed by his daughter?
Hey. That's a strange thing, actually. Well, the reason we have all these posters is because we know they did it. Every one of them was seen. You'd think if you were going to go in and kill your boss, you'd at least try to hide your face.
Yes. Which means either these individuals felt that these acts were so important that it didn't matter, or they were coerced.
Or it was something else that took them. Took them first, then took their shape. It's a possibility. I don't think that my friend could actually ever kill someone.
And no one saw the perpetrators after the acts were committed. They vanished afterwards.
At most, they were seen leaving the scene. After that, no one could find him.
So Miss Adela walked into her employer's home, murdered him in front of his daughter, immediately left the premises and disappeared.
As wild as that sounds, yeah. Can't find hide nor hair of her. No trace.
We'll need any information you collected on these individuals. Their place of residence, place of work, where the crimes were committed.
There has to be some sort of connection, either with the perpetrators, the victims, the area where the crimes were committed, something.
I'm hoping we can find something like that. As far as I can tell, only, I don't know, maybe one thing ties them all together, one or two.
And what would that be?
Well, it's really a hunch more than anything on my part. But all these crimes, the killing, the arson, the robbery, not all the victims died. Some of them are still alive, some of them survived. But I tell you what, from my perspective at least, they're all bloody rich.
All right, so all the victims were wealthy.
Seems that way. Mr. Engstrom, obviously you've all heard of him. The arson, well, they didn't get the whole building, but got a lot of it and a couple of people inside. It was a big factory. You know the types that own those. The robberies were a few rich homes around town and a church.
A church? What did they take at the church?
A few relics, as far as we can tell. Money from a collection, that kind of thing. No saints' bones or anything, but, you know.
All valuable objects?
Oh, yeah. Some expensive stuff is missing. And, the victim of the assault, he survived, but, he was a doctor. A well-known one.
All right.
What was the name of the doctor?
You know, all doctors have names. And
Yes.
This particular doctor's name was Archer Gray.
Dr. Gray. Yes, I've heard of him.
Good, well maybe you can talk to him.
Do you know his association with the perpetrator in this particular case, the assault? Was it a former patient or family member?
As far as what I could get out of him, she was a patient. I don't know anything else than that, because he won't tell me. And if he won't tell you, I'm gonna have him arrested. So.
Well, that's good to know. We can certainly leverage that on your behalf.
In addition to the information that I just requested, anything that was stolen, taken, destroyed at the scene would also help us.
I've kept a list. Compiled it. He takes out a notebook, sort of a leather-bound like notebook, flips through it, and pulls out a couple of like folded pieces of paper. Puts them down on the table, and he's got a list of essentially what was either stolen or damaged, things like that.
Is there anything else we can think of for the detective?
Not at this time.
All right. Well, if you're on board, I can get you access to the crime scenes. The victims are citizens, so if you want to talk to them, that's on you. They don't have to talk back, but I don't know, maybe they'll give you something they won't give me. Because I'm really drawing a blank on this one.
We shall look into all of this and keep you updated.
All right. We'll be around town. Max will be with me. But if you find yourself in need of some muscle,
We know where to look.
can't miss the brute, really.
He is right here, Detective.
Well, that's something he says about himself.
You call yourself a big brute, Mr. Nordwall.
Max sort of tips his hat back, and you can see a he's a large man, very large face, or square cut jaw, skin that is sort of leathery, like somebody who's been out working out in the sun for a very long time, and just scarred all to hell. Cut up. He's got a scar over one eye that's sort of gone like milky white, and he just kind of looks down at all of you and says, I mean, if the shoe fits.
You hear Billy's like throat catch for just a second next to you.
And when you're my size, most of them don't. He sort of cracks a smile.
I see. Well, if Mr. Nordwall takes no offense, I will drop it. I suppose we should get to work then.
Yes, and the matter of our compensation we can discuss afterwards.
Well, of course, I figured that was coming. You'll be paid fairly for the work you do. Just keep track. Timesheet or something. I gotta have something to turn in.
To the minute. Wouldn't want to waste the department's time. You won't do enough of that as it is.
I'd expect nothing less from you, Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you really ought to hire an assistant or something, getting an awful lot of deliveries lately.
I'll look into it.
Wouldn't want you to throw out your back, carrying all those packages into your cellar.
Danny,
Plenty of help here, and if he needs more, or if they need more help at home, then I'm more than happy to assist.
Good. Good. Well, unless there's anything else you need from me, Max and I will be on our way.
Not at this moment, but if we have any further questions, again, we shall have the cooperation of the police force.
Of course.
Splendid.
You know where to find me.
Let me show you out.
They stand, and Villy goes to show them out of the house. You show them out, take them to the front door. The detective puts his hat back on now that he is outside and is polite to do so, and thanks you. Max as well sort of walks by, stops like he's remembered something, turns, and then kind of tips his hat to you, and then leaves.
Billy does like a stupid little curtsy, and then she's like, as soon as he turns away, she's like,
Right, and they leave. So, I think we're in the preparation phase.
yes. Like as soon as Billy comes back in, she walks up to Tilda. Did you see that man?
I don't think I could have avoided seeing him.
I'd like to get him in the fight pits, if you know what I mean. You'll pardon the expression.
All that aside, I suppose we can look into several things at once. Obviously, all of the living victims should be interviewed. And then perhaps any friends or loved ones of these alleged perpetrators. There must be some sort of connection between them all. And if there is, then I suppose that would help us to figure out exactly what in the bloody hell's going on here.
Right. As I said, I know my friend very well. I don't think that she's capable of harming anyone like that. I mean, when the ducks arrive and they still have their head on, she has a conniption.
Perhaps if all of these people were seen committing these crimes, and they weren't predisposed to such behaviors, there's some sort of environmental factor at play here.
Like a poison or something.
Perhaps there are certain drugs and compounds that might drive somebody to acting irrationally.
Would you be able to control somebody that way?
Control, no. It's delving into
It seemed
the
very-
works of fiction.
It seemed very calculated.
Well, perhaps their relationship with the victims was all that the perpetrator needed, introducing some sort of toxin to a common source and increasing rage, anger, knowing that they would be in the situation to commit these crimes.
Like some sort of rage virus.
I don't see a viral nature to the disease it would be spreading. If that was the case, we'd be seeing an increase in these behaviors. This
Right.
seems too controlled, something being introduced to something they're consuming, or perhaps a aerosol of some kind. I'll look into the locations, see if there's any connection between somebody they've been in physical contact with.
Right. I guess the other matter would be the fact that they all immediately disappeared. So either they were coerced and or forced into a carriage, taken away by an individual, or
That does seem to hint at the fact that there is a culprit or group of culprits behind these incidents. Well,
Hopefully they're all still alive.
yes. Very, since you know this Adela, do you know if she has any family or friends? Anyone you could talk to about that particular day or the days leading up to it?
The family she worked for was the closest thing that she had besides me.
Do you wish to take care of the interview of the daughter of Mr. Ingstrom then?
I think that'd be best, yes?
All right.
I will also try to speak with Dr. Gray. If somebody wishes to accompany me there, I am familiar with his practice is located. Perhaps that will get us the inn we need.
Do you think it's possible that Alina and the daughter had played together as kids since you were both nannies to them?
How old is Alina?
19.
Yeah, they would be close in age. Samuel Engstrom's daughter, whose name is Sarah, Sarah Blessingtrom, because she is recently married, is like 21, maybe. So it's possible they might have known each other.
Elena, do you want to go speak to Sarah with me?
Well, it would be nice to see her, though I wish it would be under better circumstances.
For sure. All right. I can accompany you, Doctor, if you'd like.
There's a
Okay.
crash and Stefan comes charging through chasing a cat.
Is everything all right?
Fine! Mittens! Damn cat!
Stefan?
Yes, Stefan
Oh,
Berwin.
Stefan the gameskeeper. I thought you meant the detective, and I was like, wait.
He's back, he left his cat.
I know.
No, the gatekeeper.
Got it. Sorry.
Although
new
the
news this
detective
episode.
chasing a cat is very funny.
That would be amazing.
He stole my badge. Then we're going to full gumshoe territory, and I'm all here for
The cat's name is Marmaduke.
that.
Yes.
Danny was going to do some research once we have the information. No, if we're still in the preparation phase before the investigation, I don't know what the order here is.
Yeah, so you would do any preparations before leaving the Citadel to go start investigating. So
Okay.
you do that now. So Alina and Villy are going to go to the Ingstrom estate to talk to his daughter. Danny going to do some research and then go talk to Dr. Gray. What's Tilda going to do?
Danny's focusing research on.
Danny was going to take the list of like where the crimes took place, where the victims lived, see if there's any intersecting between any of those or any patterns that come up.
Okay. I guess we really don't have too much to go on, like base and lore wise, but I guess she can get a head start on that sort of thing. Anything that could, more in the vein of like these people being coerced or forced to do this, as opposed to, or something that could take someone's shape, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe do some research on that sort of thing.
Okay.
Go off.
Yeah, so we'll do some research. If you guys want to roll for resources and buy anything, we'll do that as well. And then we'll commence investigating. I think let's go ahead and take our break. So then over the break, if you guys can decide if you want to do resources and buy anything, look at the equipment list, that kind of thing. So, stick around, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us so far. We will be back in just a few short minutes after we refresh our snacks and our drinks and ourselves. So stick around to see what happens next. And welcome back, Internet. Thanks for hanging out with us during our break. We are refreshed and ready to go. So, some of you have rolled for resources already. Was anybody else wanting to roll to see if you could potentially buy something?
I was looking at stuff and then I just sat down before the break was over, so I might have something in a bit.
I was asking if anybody else wanted to roll.
Yes.
Yeah. Val, do you have the equipment list pulled up?
I do.
What page is that on?
It is on one. Why are there no page numbers on this page? 174, 175.
Great. No, it's not.
Oh, sorry, 74, 75. I added 100 pages to it.
Super not.
For no reason.
Okay, so gonna have to pull up a thing. All right, so everybody who's rolled has got 1 success. Let me find the resources rules.
I had 2 dice. I got 1 6.
Oh no!
No. I half is good. I got 1.
That's pretty good. Okay. Let's see. Resources. Oh, I don't remember what the rule is for this. Dang it, I'm gonna find it. Preparatory equipment. Here we go. All right. All right, each player rolls a number of dice indicated by their character's resource. The number of successes is used to purchase equipment. So, on the equipment list, every success equals 1 level of availability. So you all can buy 1 thing of availability 1, if you would like.
We can take stuff from our capital, though, if we want to.
Yes. You can also donate successes to each other, or you can move points from your free capital, which some of you have and some of you don't. Those are gone for the duration of the mystery. So if you wanted to try to buy anything during the mystery, you wouldn't have that capital. You wouldn't have access to as much capital, but yeah.
Okay. I want to buy a chair. I don't want to buy a chair, but I always laugh when I see that on the list.
It's technically a weapon. I love. And if there's nothing that strikes you, you don't have to buy anything.
Yeah, so what we roll for in the preparatory phase, if I rolled a 1, if we don't use that for anything right now, then it just goes into the ether and we can only buy stuff with our capital for the rest of the mystery.
Or you can give it to somebody else.
Okay. Is there anything anybody really wanted to buy with it? Because I've got 1 and not a whole lot's really hitting me.
I'm gonna buy lockpicks.
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
I have the lantern again, or like opera glasses, something to see far away.
Okay.
Unless someone wants mine and needs it for something more expensive.
No. I'm gonna buy a strong poison.
Okay. Sure.
Or an extremely strong poison? No, I'll go with a strong poison.
Who's that for, Danny?
Don't you worry about it.
When you don't say who it's for, it worries me.
Could be for anyone.
I'll look up
That's
the poison
why I'm
rules.
worried.
So a strong poison.
Yes.
What is the... Hold on. Hold up. I think poisons have a toxicity.
Yes. This one is 6.
Great.
Oh, wait, I think I was looking at the wrong part. Dang it. So I can't get lockpicks.
They're in the equipment section.
Huh?
Lockpicks are
Yep.
in the equipment.
But I only have one.
Oh. I can.
If you
I can
really,
front
if you
one.
want them, or yeah, I could give you mine. I don't really like. I was just gonna grab something just in case, but if you really want the lockpicks, you can have mine.
Okay.
Yeah, take it.
Yay. Thank you.
Oh yes, lockpicks are availability too.
Yes.
I was looking. I should really look at the rules.
Needs rules.
Rules.
All right, so we've got some lockpicks and some poison.
You'll have to tell me how the poison works when I get there. I just want it.
Yeah, so poison has a toxicity level and it's an opposed roll. So you roll as many dice as the toxicity of the poison, and the person rolls to resist it, essentially. Either it's force if it's like a fully statted person like you guys, or for other things, it's for like monsters and stuff, it's might. But it's just a contested roll. So you'd roll 6 dice.
I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
So like, for example, like with my crystal ball or my lockpicks, like they give a +1 to observation or a +1 to stealth. Do I only get that plus when I'm like picking a lock, or do I have a +1 to stealth just as long as I have the lockpicks?
It is only when you're actively using the item.
Okay. Just double checking.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I'm good.
Okay, let's do some research. This is
To
an
the library.
exciting episode that we're doing here. We've gone shopping. We've done some building in the headquarters. Now we're going to read some books. It's all very fascinating.
I mean, after we do that, since Tilda and the doctor are in the library at this time, I do have a conversation.
Yes, we're gonna have a couple of
Candlestick.
conversations with the candlestick. All right, let's do
Doesn't want them dead.
some research. What do you roll for research?
Well, I still haven't told you why I got this poison.
Establish connections. I think I'm just gonna say investigation. I do this every time. I should really write this down. I'm obviously not going to, but I should.
Yeah, I
I'll
was
say
curious-
you can do investigation or you can do learning. Learning is not like finding information, but it's like making connections between pieces of information. So I feel like I can say that one also applies.
Yeah. I was thinking I was gonna ask for if I could use learning. Well, it's the same for me either way, but since Danny already has all the information and is trying to make a connection from the available stuff they got from the police.
Okay. Yeah, so investigation or learning. Anybody who wants to do any sort of research before leaving the Citadel.
Wow. 8 dice, 1 success.
Sometimes it be like that. It's hard about these dice pool games.
I'm never gonna hit that 5 successes on a single roll again.
Incredible. Truly incredible.
1 success.
Okay, so let's start with Tilda. So Tilda, you were looking specifically into Vaesen.
Yes,
lore.
something that might fit the bill for
Okay.
either could take someone's form or could like force their will upon someone to make them do something like this and then make them disappear.
Yeah, so I think you don't find one specific thing, but you can narrow it down to like a specific subset of Vaesen. I think so. Most Vaesen can perform some sort of magic. They have some sort of innate magic. Basically, all of them do. Some of them are more sentient, sort of closer to sapient than others. If you're looking for something that can either change shape or change the shapes of others, like sort of like polymorphy, that kind of thing, you're looking for something that is probably a bit more of a complex creature. So anything that is sort of the bestial nature, you have like ghosts and like brook horses, like sea serpents, things like that. Probably not what you're dealing with. But there are sort of all manner of creatures that can do these things. You narrow in on this subset of creatures and you find a few things. Obviously, shape changers would be an option, which you've already discussed. There are also a few other kinds of creatures that lean a little bit more into or have more of the ability to like enchant things and people, charming magic, perhaps. Trollcraft can do this. So trolls, fairies, that kind of thing, all manner of like woodland spirits, sprites, anything along those lines can do the kind of magic that you're looking for. I think mostly what you get out of this is that you're probably looking at something. This is most likely, if you've sort of pegged the type of magic correctly, it's going to be a sort of a higher thinking, smarter, more intelligent creature than something like a werewolf, perhaps. Werewolves don't generally commit arson, is what I'm saying.
Would the fact
I mean,
that
they
it
could.
went after precious things like valuables and things like that, would that help to narrow down at all?
There is some overlap. So, like fairies tend to do this thing, for example. There are other creatures that are sort of like in the line of fairies that are fey touched, close to the fairy realm. So like wood wives, ash tree wives, they're all sort of like they're like woodland spirits, druidic type creatures, that kind of thing. Tend to like shiny things, do this kind of thing. They also tend to want payment for services a lot of the time. So there's also that.
Cool.
I think that's what you find. Danni,
Yeah.
what you looking for?
Any connections between the victims based on the geography of the crimes?
Okay. A lot of success. So, you've got a set of, hold on, where are they? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You got a set of 6 wanted posters with the names and likenesses of these women on them. You've got 1 for breaking and entering and robbery. You've got 1 for assault. You've got 3 for arson. You've got 1 for murder. The connection that the detective has already made seems to ring true. Samuel Ingstrom, the murder victim, is obviously we talked about this last time, sort of an accountant, money manager, banking type to the rich, so is very rich himself. Obviously lives in an estate, has a staff, all of that stuff. The doctor that you are aware of, him and his practice, Dr. Archer Gray, is very well off. He is an excellent doctor. He is also known to charge quite a bit for treatment. So he is often a doctor to the wealthy, but comes very highly regarded. And a lot of people who have gone into debt seeking his services because he's one of the best. Particularly the arson charge, the 3 that are charged for arson committed this crime together. As far as you can tell from what the detective gathered, these are all women who worked at this factory, obviously run by, again, some wealthy business people who don't always treat their workers the best. But as far as you can tell, they were factory employees who, for some reason, burned down the factory they worked in with a few of the executives inside. And then the last one, before she was found out and then promptly escaped town somehow, or was taken, or whatever happened to her before she disappeared, Nellie Ekman, the one who is charged with breaking and entering and robbery, robbed 3 local estates, all of very wealthy families, and also a nearby church of several valuables.
Were those done on multiple evenings, or did she rob them all in the same night and then disappear?
It seems like it happened over the course of a couple of days. And then finally she was seen.
Interesting.
And now she's gone.
So
that
only when
holds
they
up.
were seen, they disappeared?
Seems like.
Sorry, this is all out of character. Sorry. Okay.
No, you're good. But yeah, there was at least one witness to every crime at some point. That's why they know all the victims' names, all the perpetrators' names, excuse me. We know all the victims' names too, but it's because they reported the crimes. So there's really no doubt in the detective's mind or his notes that these women committed these crimes because somebody saw them do it. All of the places, all the crime scenes are within a pretty small area of town. They're sort of all these places that were robbed, all these homes were very close together. Generally, the rich tend to congregate, so they all live on one side of town. Down the way from that is the sort of industrial district of town where all the factories and everything are. So it all sort of took place on kind of along the western wall of Grimsby. So you're kind of looking at that area.
Okay. Cool.
That's what you got.
For the sake of time, Danny will share that information with everybody when it is needed at some point, so everyone is aware of where the crimes are taking place. And all that.
Okay.
Tilda will talk about all the possible basement stuff.
All right. So share that information amongst the group. In the midst of all of this research and everything, Villy, you wanted to talk to Danny. Yes?
Yes. So when the doctor is alone at some point, Villy will walk in with tea and a plate of like scones or something, like a little snack, maybe a cheese and sausage, and sort of place it next to them. Where would the doctor be? In the library?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so she just places it down next to them and kind of stands there for a moment.
Yes, thank you. Did you need something, Betty?
The other day, when the inspector came by, you seemed very nervous and anxious. Is there something we should know about as far as your dealings or the things that you do that you might have a affair going on when it comes to the law?
Looks around. Is Tilda nearby?
I would assume she's on the other side of the library.
Yeah, Tilda is sort of in the opposite corner of the library, kind of buried in a big, an old leather-bound book, sort of furiously taking notes.
Keeps their voice down a little bit. Just says, I have prior engagements with the detective.
I just want to know because Miss Alina is here and, you know, she's my charge and I'd like to keep her protected if I can. So if there's anything I should know about that would put her in danger.
Nothing that puts her in danger, no.
No salty sorts coming by asking for money or...
No, nothing of that nature. My finances are in order. I would only ask that, should the detective come by again, if you see him near my home, advise me and keep him outside.
Of course. You know that I have quite the discretion when it comes to my employers. So if there's anything you need help with, just let me know. So I'm here.
I'll let you know.
Right. Is there anything else you've been needing?
Nothing that we haven't already discussed.
She smiles and nods and goes on with her work.
Okay. A little while later.
Returns to working.
Returns to working. A little while later, Tilda, you finished up your research, sort of gathering your notes to bring back to present to the group as you prepare to investigate. And you'd see Danny conveniently right there in the library working by themselves.
So we haven't been instilled here in the Citadel for any more than 7-8 months, and you already have the police knocking on the door.
Can I help you with something, Tilda?
Just saying. If anything, I should thank you. At least I wasn't the first one.
Are you expecting more involvement from law enforcement?
Oh, dear God, I hope not.
Is there some sort of legal trouble you're involved in?
Not at the moment.
Right.
I just thought that, if anything, this presents a unique opportunity, wouldn't you say?
How so?
Well, as we all heard, the detective was more than willing to allow us some leeway with the police force, which means talking with them, collaborating with them, seeing what information they may have.
Perhaps. You think there's be some advantage to knowing what the detective might be aware of?
Wouldn't you think so?
I can't imagine that he's aware of anything substantial.
Well, wouldn't it be good to know exactly what he does and does not know?
Perhaps.
Well, need I remind you that certain individuals that you work with are very good at what they do?
Please, just tell me what you're insinuating.
Simply that if the bugger has some sort of information on you, it would be very good to know what it is, would it not?
I suppose.
And I suppose that he wouldn't allow you anywhere near any of that information, given how close you are to it. But oh, come on, Doctor. People like to talk to me. I'm very good at inveigling information from those that may or may not know that that is what I'm aiming for.
And this isn't just some ill-conceived attempt to delve even further into my personal affairs.
No. As I said, anything that affects you at this point, as you are associated with our society, affects us as well. It's important that we know what that information is, so that we can do what we must with it.
I suppose you're right. Well, if you happen to learn anything through your conversations or perusal of police records, we can discuss it at that time.
I would only ask one thing in return.
I should have assumed that was coming.
It's not much. You just have to ask me nicely.
Is this truly going to gratify you as much as you hope?
Tilda, would you be so kind as to find out this information for me, please?
Tilda,
Yes, Doctor.
would you be so kind as to find this information for me, please?
Of course. Absolutely. It would be my pleasure.
Thank you.
You are ever so welcome, Doctor. I shall leave you to your reading. She flounces out of the library.
Danni continues trying to work.
All right. So, finally left alone. You get the rest of your research done. And unless anybody has anything else they'd like to do, we can move into investigating. All right. So, let us begin with, since you're splitting up to investigate, let's start with Villy and Alina, who are going together. So the two of you head over to the Engstrom estate. Obviously, Villy, you know the way. Been there many times. Where Adela used to work before the last couple of days. Probably not going to be able to go back to work there after this one. You're both familiar with it. You've spent a lot of time here. Alina, you know Sarah, once Sarah Engstrom when she was younger, now Sarah Blessingstrom, recently married and changed her name. She and her wife Ingrid and her mother Marta all live here at the estate as well. So you head over, approach. There is a police presence here for sure, because this is a relatively recent happening. But you see, sort of standing out on the lawn inside the front gates, Sarah, having just finished speaking with a police officer. She has long, sort of ashy blonde hair that's kind of tied back in an updo. She's wearing a nice corseted dress, and she sort of finishes speaking to the officer she was speaking to, and turns and sort of half-heartedly waves as she sees you coming up the walk. Hi, Villy, Alina. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
What are you doing here?
We just wanted to give you our condolences on the loss of your father.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
Actually, the officers have asked us to assist with the investigation. Elena here is a bit of a medium in her own right, and we're wondering if we could talk to you about it.
Is that so? Well, I don't know how much help I'll be.
Would you like to speak here, or?
I would actually love to not be here.
Right. We could go to a cafe?
Yes, that sounds lovely.
Right. My treat.
All right. The three of you leave and head down the street to a nice cafe. Sit down sort of in a secluded corner. So, a medium then.
It's quite a long story.
I imagine so. Well, that's exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is quite fun.
Is it? I imagine it would be scary.
Oh no. I mean, nothing has happened that's bad so far.
That's good.
Well, why don't you start at the beginning? You said you saw what happened.
I did. I was in the study with my father, speaking with him, just about some business, family things. And all of a sudden the door flies open and Adela is standing there, wild look on her face, holding a... It sounds bizarre, but like a tree branch, almost.
Tree branch?
Sharp on one end, like someone had carved it. And, well, I knew she was strong, but, well, she ran him straight through the chest, and he died there on the office floor.
No. I'm
And then she
sorry,
left.
that seems like a very tragic and scarring thing to see.
Yes, I suppose it does.
Did you notice anything weird about her, Adela?
Other than the fact that she was trying to stab my father, I don't know. She looked like herself, a bit crazed, really, but she didn't say anything.
Perhaps her eyes, or was she out of uniform?
No, she looked the same as she always does.
And had you seen her earlier that day?
Yes, I saw her that morning. She bright-eyed as always, came to work, served breakfast, everything. She left in the middle of the day for lunch, which she does occasionally.
Right.
And then she came back with quite the fury. It's almost impressive.
Do you know where she went for lunch?
I didn't ask.
Have you ever known her to question your father or quarrel with him at all?
Well, not to his face.
From what I know about her, we used to get meals together quite often. She quite loved this family, and I don't know why she would go and do something like this.
I don't know. No, she loved us. We loved her. We love her. Assuming she's out there somewhere. She didn't necessarily agree with the way my father handled himself or his business dealings, but none of us did, so it wasn't exactly strange. She would never say that. Gods no. I don't think she'd even tell you if you had a hair out of place.
No, probably not. Was your father doing anything different recently? Any business dealings that went wrong? Anyone that would have a grudge on him?
A grudge? If anything, he would be the one with the grudge. He'd actually lost a client recently.
Oh.
I don't know, some wealthy something or other. Mishandling money. My father's gotten more and more brazen as of late.
All right. Do you remember that she used to tell you stories of creatures in the woods, helpful little beings? Vivason?
Of course.
I know you've grown up quite a bit, but I don't think that she did this. I know whatever it was looked like her. But I know my friend very well, and I think you do too. I just can't believe she did it.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me if someone wanted my father dead.
If there's anyone you can think of, any names that come to mind, or perhaps there's something that we can do, Alina? Something we can look at?
Yes, I can certainly try.
Like what?
She pulls out her crystal ball. It, it looks a little hokey and obvious, but they really do work sometimes.
And what sort of things does it show you?
Well, sometimes it shows me things that happened, things that may happen, feelings, items, all sorts of things.
Right.
Well, I'll take a look and see what I can find.
Are you really sure that's necessary?
Well, some people think that, I mean, I know you saw what happened, but as Villy was saying, there's something very strange about the whole thing, and if there's a different answer, wouldn't you like to know the truth?
Gonna have you roll manipulate.
Ah. Oh no.
She pushes back quite a bit.
Oh no. Can I be doing small coin tricks as I'm doing this to try and convince her of my powers and what I can do?
Sure.
Because then I have conjuring tricks where I can use stealth instead of manipulation when performing stuff to influence people.
Yeah, I think that tracks in the line of trying to manipulate her into going along with this specifically.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
It's still 0, so
she sort of watches you doing the coin tricks, which you do very well, but almost looks a little taken aback by them, and says, I just I suppose if it's very important, I don't know about all this. I mean, what if you see something very private or something that I just don't know, Alina.
that's all right. We'll find another way.
Do you mind if we go back to the house and take a look around?
Of course. Yes, actually, I think that's a grand idea if you're going to be investigating.
On a different note, are you going to be needing extra help around the house? I know some people in business, people that I trust.
Oh yes, I suppose we'll want to be replacing Adela. So anyone you know, send them my way.
I'll give you some names.
Great. Yes. So I suppose you'll be going then.
Well, we can walk you back to the house and we'll look around.
Right. Of
And then
course.
we'll be going. We won't be in your hair for too much longer.
Of course. All right.
Yeah, we'll go back to the house and I think we want to do some mystical shit.
Okay. You head back to the house. Sarah sort of letting you inside, and leaving the two of you rather quickly and a little awkwardly. But she points you in the direction of her father's study upstairs. You make your way up there, and the door is already sort of hanging open, and you walk inside and you see really sort of prominently featured a very large blood stain on the wooden floor in the center of the study. A few things it looks like things have been kind of like rifled through, probably by the police who were looking around looking for evidence, things like that. Yeah. What would you like to do?
Do you want to do spooky shit?
Well, first I'm gonna, just as we're walking, just like place a hand on Villy and do blessing so that you get +2 to test of your choice during the mystery.
Baller, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then as soon as we're not in view of Sarah anymore, I'm gonna pull the crystal ball back out.
Okay. So you pull the crystal ball back out as you make your way up to the study where the murder took place.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you want to do some occult things.
Yep.
Look for some magic clues. Love it.
I'm here for the occult shit.
All right. We are here for the occult shit. I'm gonna have you roll. Oh, what's the one that you roll with your crystal ball? Observation?
Observation.
Yeah.
One success.
Okay. So you enter the study, sort of wait for the one of the police officers that is nearby to round the corner. I wasn't gonna get into it in a big conversation. I'm assuming you guys and Sarah told the cops, "Hey, we're supposed to be here."
Yeah.
I wasn't. The detective already said that it was fine, so I'm just, for narrative purposes, I'm not skipping over that. I'm just assuming that it already happened because you weren't gonna have to like roll for it or anything. So the cop sort of makes his way down the hallway, around the corner, sort of going downstairs, doing, I don't know, whatever it is he's doing right now. And Alina, you bring out the crystal balls or hold it in your hands, and you notice almost immediately as you focus in the lanterns that are lit in this room start to flicker a little bit, and the mist that you're used to sort of forms up inside the ball, and a little bit of like a gray, like a bluish gray glow starts to come from it. As the lights start to flicker and almost sort of die a little bit, you look down and you can see a similar looking mist sort of forming across the floor, sort of around your feet and the blood stain that is nearby, and it starts to almost like worm its way up from the floor and start to form into figures, like silhouettes. and you hear like echoey voices coming from the two of them. One of them looks to be a younger woman about your age. The other, sort of an older man that is sort of on the other side of the desk, kind of leaning forward. And you've seen this before, probably at some point. These are like echoes of something that has happened in the space before. But what you're not used to is sort of the overwhelming noise. The volume of these voices sort of takes you aback as it becomes very clear. Well, you can't make out everything they are saying. It becomes very clear that they are yelling at each other, like full on, full throat fighting, yelling. At one point you see the man sort of turn and just backhand, like knock a large candlestick off the desk onto the floor, and it goes tumbling. This is clearly a very hostile scene of some sort. And then amidst the yelling sort of from behind you, you hear a creaking sound. You turn and look, and you see sort of the shade of a door opening and a third figure walking through, holding what looks like some sort of weapon in their hand. The older man sort of walks around the desk, still yelling, and gesticulating, holding his arms out, and you see the shadow of this much smaller woman sort of make her way towards him, run him through, sort of just let go, turn, and walk back out the door. And then the mist starts to sort of dissipate and kind of pull itself back up towards the wall.
Well, it seemed like a very heated conversation.
Yes, well, I find people don't normally speak to each other like that when they're happy with them.
Did we catch any, wording of, what exactly they were talking about? Okay.
No, not really.
Well, that's something. I don't know what, but perhaps we should relay this back to the group. Though I don't understand with her full kitchen at her disposal why she would use a stick.
Perhaps it was the only thing she had nearby?
But it was sharpened.
Yes, that is very strange.
Alright, let's go back to talk to the others.
Okay. You make your way out of the house and head back toward the citadel to regroup with the rest of your party. I want to go over to Danni, who is going out to do some investigating. Are you going alone?
I thought Tilda was going to be coming to talk
Tilda's
to
gonna go?
the doctor.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So at the same time that all this is happening, Tilda and Danni make your way to the western side of the city of Grimsey, where Dr. Gray has his home and also his practice. No, it's daytime. You gonna go see him at work?
Yeah.
Okay. So you show up to the building. It is sort of attached to essentially he's got this very nice home. It's not like a whole estate with like grounds and everything, but a very nice sort of large 2-story home with the building that houses the practice sort of built onto the sides. They are connected. You walk in the front door. His assistant greets you and just kind of says, do you have an appointment?
No. Dr. Manson, a colleague of Dr. Gray. I need to consult him briefly if he has a moment.
Oh, of course, Dr. Madsen. I'll just let him know you're here. Doctor, Miss, you're welcome to have a seat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be right back. And she stands, sort of goes into the back room. She's gone for a couple of minutes and comes back with Dr. Gray. Dr. Archer Gray is younger than you would expect. How old is Danny?
That's a good question.
I know most of you are middle-aged,
37.
which means you're like 20 in this
30.
game.
Danny's 37.
Okay. He is several years younger than Danny. Is probably like 30, 31, but already has this sort of very distinguished, sort of pushed back, coiffed, pomaded, but distinguished sort of salt and pepper hair. Like he went gray very, very early, but is a little bit younger, very attractive, sort of high cheekbones, wide smile, teeth that are a little too white. Most of them are probably fake at this point because nobody's teeth were that nice in the 18th century. But he walks out, sort of doctor's coat on. Dr. Madsen.
Dr. Gray.
Lovely to see you.
Yes, it's been some time since the last conference, I believe.
It has, truly. It's been too long.
Do you mind if we speak privately?
Of course.
This is my colleague, Miss... Oh, fuck, I forget what your last name is.
Grunberry.
Miss Grunberry.
Miss Grunberry, a pleasure.
Pleasure.
Dr. Archer Gray.
Pleasure to meet you.
We'll meet in my office.
Yes.
Yes? Right. This way. And he leads you back, sort of past a couple of exam rooms. Probably a nurse or an assistant sort of walks by, gives you a friendly wave, into a very nice office, sort of large wooden desk, many bookshelves, and a couple of chairs. So he sits behind the desk, gestures for you to sit, then quickly stands again and says, "Oh, how rude of me. Can I get you something to drink?"
I'm quite all right, currently. Tilda?
Tea, if you have it, would be lovely. Thank you.
Of course. And then he immediately looks toward the door and says, "Julia! Tea!" It'll be right up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, what can I do for the two of you today?
Well, I'm consulting on a case with the police currently.
Are you now?
I am. And I heard you had some involvement in it.
Ah. That specific case then. Lovely.
Yes.
Well, I've told them everything I can tell them. What do you want to know?
Well, I heard that you were attacked by a patient.
Prospective patient, really. My patients comport themselves with much more etiquette than that woman does.
I understand. So you had met with her previously?
Yes, given her a consultation of sorts. We spoke. It wasn't going to work out, and she left, and I thought that was the end of it. And then, that night, she returned. Much to my chagrin.
The nature of your consult, the reason you didn't take her on as a patient, is that the complexity of her case outside of your specialty? I understand you can't relay the specifics, but it perhaps might help from the investigative perspective.
Yes, unfortunately, there's not much I can tell you. It was a difficult situation for her.
As she was not actually a patient of yours, I don't believe you need to abide by the systems of confidentiality. So, what did she want?
As he thinks for a moment, can have you roll manipulation.
Zero successes. Can I push?
Sure. Go ahead and re-roll.
Three successes.
Okay. What condition would you like to take?
I'm gonna be angry because this guy just yelled at their assistant and I don't like him very much.
Yeah, that seems right. I don't like him very much either, and I just made him up. All right, 3 successes. So you can, he'll give you some information now for one. You can bank 2 of them. If you want to spend other ones to try to push for more, you could do so.
Cool.
Well, I suppose that's true. In all honesty, she wasn't the patient. She was speaking on behalf of the patient. The patient was her son. Young boy, age of about 10, I'd say.
Was the boy suffering from some sort of affliction?
Yes, he was ill. According to his mother, had been ill for a time, at least a few months, and I suppose had gotten... Well, frankly, he was in a poor state, and had gotten bad enough that she had finally sought out medical treatment for him. Unfortunately, there was not much I could do, so I turned her away.
And why was it that you couldn't help?
Well, a number of things, really.
Was the disagreement financial in nature?
Now, why would you say a thing like that?
As a fellow practitioner, doctor, I understand the costs with keeping up a clinic and understand the nature of the clientele we take on. You have a certain reputation within the field, and a mother seeking treatment for her son. Perhaps she did not have enough to afford your expenses. I'm not judging your decision, I'm merely trying to understand the facts.
Have you roll manipulation?
Oh boy, am I so good at this. Hold on, I got a thing. Deceptive. Gain +2 manipulation when cheating and deceiving. I don't think this really counts as cheating and deceiving, though.
No.
No. Alrighty, well, I'll roll my 4 dice. One success.
Okay. He sort of looks between the two of you, leans on the desk, looking a little irritated, a little frustrated. Fine. Yes. She couldn't pay me, so I turned her away.
Do you know the current state of the young boy?
I don't. This was only a few days ago, so I can't imagine it's changed that much.
Perhaps it changed enough that she arrived the next day.
Perhaps. But I have a business to run. I have a practice to hold up. And this place doesn't run itself.
Of course. I'm sure Julia helps.
Quite a bit, yes. She's paid rather well for her services, if that's what you're asking.
No question. Just a statement.
Julia brings you some tea.
Thank you ever so much, Julia.
You're welcome, miss.
When you turned down her as a client, did she seem angry? To the point where it would make sense that she came back and attacked you later on.
Of course she was angry. I told her I couldn't treat her child. She was upset. I didn't think she would try to strangle me to death.
So no threats of violence or anything at the time?
No.
During the attack, you said she attempted to strangle you. Did she do so with her bare hands, or did she attempt to use an implement of some kind?
No, it looked almost as if she had pulled something from the garden, if you can imagine that.
Really? Like what?
So, some, I don't know, vines, or it was thick enough. It could have been a small sapling, to be honest. I don't think this bruise is ever going to go away. And he pulls down a high-necked shirt that he is wearing, and you can see sort of a large purple bruising kind of knotted that's across his neck.
Tilda leans over to the doctor and said, "Would wife?"
Danny looks confused because has absolutely no idea what she's talking about. Might as well just been speaking Greek. Now you're a fairly... Well, you're in quite good shape for your age, Dr. Gray.
Thank you.
Did she seem like someone that would be able to overpower you, as she did?
No, she's quite a small woman, actually. Imagine my surprise.
Did she say anything to you during the attack?
No, actually. She didn't say a word. Odd. I think she would have tried to say something pithy if she was going to murder me.
I find that usually to be the case.
Do you often try to murder people?
I've been consulting on several cases in the prior months. And what caused her to break off her attack?
Well, fortunately for me, there was someone else in the building. Dear Julia, as always, here working. So she heard the commotion, came in between the two of us. We were able to pull her off long enough for me to be able to breathe. The woman, I don't know, staggered back, and she ran.
Did she take the implement with her?
Yes.
Anything
Julia.
else out of the ordinary?
Nothing that I can think of.
Right. Well, Miss Grunberry, is there anything else that you can think of?
Not at this time.
Well, Dr. Gray, I'm sure you're very busy. If we need anything further, we'll let you know. And if you happen to see this patient again, please call the authorities.
A piece of advice I will most definitely be taking, Dr. Madsen.
Well, it's a pleasure seeing you again. I suppose I'll see you at the conference next month.
Pleasure seeing you as well, and pleasure meeting you, Miss Grunberry.
Doctor?
Julia will see you out.
Of course.
And with a smile on her face and a song in her heart, Julia meets you at the door to the office and leads you outside. Have a good day, Miss Doctor.
You too.
Julia,
Yes.
we were actually discussing that dreadful business of the doctor being attacked.
Oh dear. Yes, it was quite the afternoon a few days ago.
I would imagine. We just wondered if perhaps you saw anything further than the doctor. He said you managed to help save his life.
Yes. Well, I'm much stronger than I look, actually.
I can imagine.
Do a lot of work around town, so. Oh, yes, actually. She dropped something when she left. And I thought to keep it in case the police needed it, but they never spoke to me. So.
Of course. Yes, again, we are actually aiding in the investigation, so whatever you may have would be very helpful.
I think it's quite important, actually. Hold on, I'll get it.
Thank you.
And she sort of runs back inside, shuffles around through a couple of things sort of behind and under the desk that she sits at, and she comes back and hands you sort of woven together almost in like a very, very tight braid, like a plait, this long piece of like several very, very thin like sapling branches. She dropped this on her way out, and when I figured someone ought to look at it.
Of course, was this what she was using to assault the doctor?
I think so, yes.
Of course. Pull out a handkerchief. Pick it up. Thank you, Julia. That was very, very sharp to do. We'll take this for the investigation. Thank you.
You're welcome. And if you need anything else, if I can help in any way, please let me know.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Yes. Good day then. And she leaves you to it.
Fairly
Well.
standard.
What was that phrase you whispered to me?
Good wife.
Am I supposed to know what that means? Some sort of...
Was in the text I was referencing earlier. It's a type of vason. They live within the woods, similar to fairies. They like to take payments of different types. And I believe we might want to do a little bit more investigating into that particular type.
Right. Well, I suppose we should then look into this creature.
Yes. Looks
Well,
around. Anyone around?
Nah.
Nah. Tilda would like to do some automatic writing with this nifty little piece of murder wood.
Okay. Let us
Inspiration.
go ahead and roll. Use inspiration. Channel the spirits. Get some
One
clues.
success.
Ah.
Ah.
All right. So, standing there, sort of moving to the side of the clinic and leaning against the wall, Tilda holds the plat in her hand, pulls out the notebook, which I assume she probably keeps on her at all times, and pen, and just stands there for a moment, sort of pen to paper in silence. I assume Danny is confused by this. But Tilda doesn't respond, and eventually Danny, you see her sort of look up and away from the paper, and her eyes close. And then she starts furiously scribbling across the page. This sort of plat of wood, of branches in her hand, sort of just like a mad woman, scribbling out something on the page. Tilda, this goes on for maybe 30 seconds or so. And then suddenly your eyes open again, your hand stops moving and becomes yours, and you look down and you see you have drawn something. How familiar are the two of you with the sort of flora and fauna of the area, do you think? Plants and things. Vaguely familiar?
yeah, I would say, well, Danny's motivation is exploring and describing the world, so I would assume that as part of their medical studies would try to be familiar with local, especially like plants and stuff that could be poisonous or lead to medical issues.
Okay.
Tilda went to a fine school in the country.
Okay, so Tilda, you don't spend much time out in the sort of country and wilder area outside of Grimsey, but you'd recognize this as something that would have surrounded you a while ago at school. And Danny, you're familiar enough with wildlife that Tilda shows you the drawing, and you recognize this too. It is a large tree, a sort of thick trunk that at the bottom that very quickly splits off into many smaller trunks, sort of fanned out leaves that have their own sort of stalks with many leaves coming off of them. This is an ash tree, of which you know there are a couple of groves just outside the city.
Right.
Why did you just draw a tree?
I didn't.
I just saw you draw a tree. It's not your best fabrication.
Ever since the evening we all met, I found that I can allow myself to become privy to information I may not have on my own. So I was the vessel of the drawing, if you will, but I did not draw it.
Does everyone we affiliate with have some sort of unearthly power? Or am I going to find out that Tilda, that Villy is also harboring some psychic ability?
Well, you possess some yourself, Doctor. You can see them.
Right. So, the spirits, or whatever it might be.
I have been researching, trying to figure out exactly what it might be. Don't have any solid leads yet. But yes, whatever it was, this tree may be important. In fact, it may be a specific tree, even.
Well, I suppose we should go look at trees then.
Sometimes it's nice to get out of the city, wouldn't you say?
I find I've been spending far too much time outside of the city.
Yes, well,
And
that
nothing
is...
good happens when we leave.
Nothing. Very particular word. Some nice things.
Right. Well, you can fill me in on what those are when we walk, I guess.
Well, I suppose if you have to ask, Doctor, it won't really matter, will it? Strolls back toward the Citadel.
Danny follows, confused.
And as Danny follows, confused, that is where we will end our session for today. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us today. Thanks to my lovely players for going on this, probably the most complicated journey I've come up with so far. Not sorry. We'll see what happens next time. Let us quickly do our experience questions. Questions for experience points. Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Did you participate in the session?
Yes.
Love that question. Everybody always gets one. Did you confront any Vaesen?
No.
Still not 100% on whether Van Helsing is a Vaesen or not. But
Max Nordall?
yeah.
Not as far as you know. Did you identify a previously unknown Vaesen?
Potentially? Is it enough to identify them yet?
I'm not gonna call it identified yet. Were you affected by your dark secret?
Yes.
Always.
Not this time.
Okay.
Danny got all the heat this time.
Yeah, Danny got a lot of heat this time. It'll be somebody else's turn next time. Did you take risks to protect other people?
No.
Wasn't a real risk-filled, a socially risky episode, I would say. Have you learned anything? What?
We learned lots of clues for this mystery.
You guys learned a ton of stuff, I would say. So we'll count that one. Did you develop something in your headquarters?
Yes,
Yes.
we did.
Yes. And did you perform an extraordinary action?
I drew a tree, but I didn't draw a tree.
All right. So mark those good XPs and either spend them on in advance or save them up. All right, so that is where we're going to leave it for today. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. If you're live with us on Twitch, we're so glad you were here with us today. If you're with us later on YouTube, you can catch this show live every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/GameKnights. Is there anything anybody wants to plug before we say goodbye? I'm going to post all your social medias in the chat.
Check out Flames of Freedom on twitch.tv/InfiniteRP on Monday night, 8 o'clock Eastern. We're fighting ghouls underground, because that's smart of us. But check it out.
You've made a mistake.
We've made a mistake.
All right. Anything else?
Nope.
All right. Well, we will leave it there. All of these wonderful people's Twitter handles are under their faces, so follow them. They tweet about when they go live and all of the other work they're doing, including streaming and crafts and cosplay and wonderful, wonderful things. You're going to want to be caught up on all of that. So we will see everybody 1 week from today on Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time for the next episode of Thursday's Children. But until then, good game and good night, Internet.